Chapter 36-26. Everyone present was stunned for a moment, and they all looked at Luo Qingchen in disbelief. The boy next to her was still smiling happily, but there was a special emotion in his originally innocent and harmless eyes. But this emotion quickly dissipated, and it became pure and harmless eyes again. "You, Miss Qingchen, you." Shuanglan was the most shocked. Even if he closed his eyes and guessed, he couldn't have guessed that this girl named Luo Qingchen in front of him had decided to marry Shuangzi. "Come on, he's a fool, okay?" Shuangying was also very surprised, but he didn't show it on the surface. He just snorted and looked at her with disdain. "Miss Luo's taste is really not that good." "I can't help it." Luo Qingchen gently shrugged and said in a lazy tone, "Who told me to be obsessed with looks? I only like beautiful things, whether it's on the surface or inside." Shuangying heard this and immediately retorted, "Miss Luo, why don't you say that you only like stupid things, whether it's on the surface or inside? If I'm really such a person as you say, then I should choose you." In terms of offensive skills, no matter if it was an ordinary person or a genius, Luo Qingchen would never lose. "You." For the first time in his life, Shuangying didn't know how to refute the words that were on the tip of his tongue. The other party's strong aura suppressed him, and he felt an inexplicable fear in his heart. "Little Ing, don't talk like that." Frost Crane's face sank. "As an older brother, how can you say that to your younger brother?" Shuangying bit his lips and tried to calm his emotions. "I know, Dad." "Ahem." The next second, Frost Crane cleared his throat and looked at Luo Qingchen. "Qingchen, although Uncle Shuangying doesn't know why you made such a choice, after all." He paused and continued, "Shuangzi is a good child, but are you sure?" "I'm sure." Luo Qingchen looked at Shuangzi with a smile on her face. She gently patted his head and said, "I just want to marry him." Instantly, Liemo, who had been standing silently by the side, spoke up. "May I ask the reason?" For some reason, Liemo felt a sense of familiarity when he faced Luo Qingchen. Therefore, when she said that she wanted to marry Shuangzi, his heart was covered with a layer of gloom. It had nothing to do with whether Shuangzi was a fool or not. It was her choice. "Didn't I just say it?" Luo Qingchen's eyebrows moved slightly. "It's because he's good-looking." Shuangzi seemed to feel that the other party was talking about him. He slowly turned his eyes and looked at her with a warm smile. "Elder sister is beautiful, and I am also beautiful. Elder sister and I must be a match made in heaven. Ding, affection has increased by 10. Mission completion rate is now 10%. This can also increase favorability." He. Shuangying couldn't help giving a cold laugh as he said, "Since Miss Luo has already made your choice, I still have other matters to attend to, so I won't accompany you." As soon as his voice fell, he suddenly stood up and picked up the suit hanging on the sofa. He didn't even look back as he walked out the door. Frost Crane's face was very ugly. It seemed like Shuangying's actions had made him lose all face. Although he could understand why his second son was this angry, they were both meat and Shuangying didn't give him any face at all. "Dad, don't be angry." Shuanglan immediately came out to smooth things over. "Second son is just a bit stubborn, perhaps Miss Qingchen's choice has hurt his pride." Chapter 36-27. Frost Crane sighed and looked at Luo Qingchen. "Uncle has let you see a joke. Since you've already chosen Shuangzi, pick a date to get married. It'll also give me an explanation to your father." "Okay." Luo Qingchen nodded and said, "I'll listen to Uncle Shuang's arrangement." Frost Crane didn't think that Luo Qingchen would agree so readily. It was impossible to say that he didn't have any doubts in his heart. However, Luo Qingchen choosing Shuangzi made him feel that she wasn't a snobbish girl. She gave people the impression that she was very simple, but when she was fighting with Shuangying, she didn't fall behind at all. No wonder Luo Banshan left 60% of his inheritance to her. It seemed that she really had the qualifications and the ability to inherit such a huge inheritance. After sending off the Shuang family, Luo Qingchen went to her room to tidy up her things. She promised Frost Crane that she would move to the Shuang family's residence tomorrow morning. First, she could familiarize herself with the environment faster, and second, she could cultivate feelings with Shuangzi. In fact, what he didn't know was that no matter what kind of person Shuangzi was, cold or arrogant, proud or black-bellied, gentle or elegant, and even if he was a fool, there was no need to cultivate feelings between them because their feelings were very good. After tidying up her things, she passed by Yang Yaji's room and could still hear the sharp cries and howls from inside. Luo Shui and Luo Sha were knocking on the door to bring her food, but Yang Yaji didn't come out. The two of them looked at each other with doubts in their eyes. They didn't really care about Yang Yaji, but they were puzzled. This 30-something-year-old stepmother's status in the family had always been very high. In fact, they didn't like her very much, but her methods were very clever. She always planned what she wanted very precisely and properly, and no one had a chance to disturb her plans. After all, they more or less had something on her, so they never dared to disobey or resist her. Just yesterday she also sent a message in the discussion group of the three of them. "You bunch of useless trash. In the end, do I still have to deal with her myself? You'd better be obedient in the future. Otherwise, I won't give you a single cent of the 60% of the inheritance. Open your eyes and watch carefully. This is how I dealt with her this time." Little did he know that less than 4 hours after Yang Yaji posted this sentence, she rushed home as if she had been greatly frightened. Then, from time to time, he would wail like ghosts and howl like wolves in his room. Such a voice made Luo Shui and Luo Sha's hair stand on end. Therefore, they had huge doubts in their hearts. Yang Yaji was such a meticulous person. What could have scared her to this extent? She must have asked Luo Qingchen out that night. What happened to make her like this? Qingchen. Luo Shui and Luo Sha called out her name when they saw her walking towards them. Luo Qingchen raised her eyebrows slightly and glanced at them. A cold light flashed in her eyes as she said, "What's the matter?" Luo Shui and Luo Sha looked at each other again. Luo Shui then showed an embarrassed smile and said, "It's nothing. I just heard the housekeeper Li Sun say that you're moving to the Shuang family tomorrow, right?" Silence, silence, silence. Complete silence. After a while, Luo Qingchen narrowed her eyes slightly and snorted coldly, "What does it have to do with you?" Chapter 36-28. Why did she have to answer the questions of these people who conspired to send her to the morgue? Moreover, she really hated these people who couldn't wait for the other party to die, but still had to force a smile on their faces. "You!" Rosa wanted to respond, but she stopped when she heard Yang Yaji's wails from the room. Yang Yaji was such a powerful person, but she seemed to have fallen into her hands, let alone them. Luo Qingchen sneered and didn't say anything else. She directly walked forward. Luo Shui and Luo Sha, who were still standing there, were so angry that they were about to stomp their feet. However, they only dared to complain when Luo Qingchen disappeared at the end of the corridor. Why is this person so arrogant? An illegitimate daughter is an illegitimate daughter. Doesn't she know that she doesn't have a legitimate status? That's right. I'm so angry. Luo Sha continued. I really wanted to scold her just now, but then I thought about how Yang Yaji became crazy for some reason. I was a little scared, so I didn't scold her back. Me too. Me too. Luo Shui angrily put her hands on her hips and said, This Luo Qingchen, just you wait. Now that Yang Yaji can't take it anymore, I'll think of a way to deal with her. Sister, are you really going to deal with her? Nonsense. Luo Shui's eyes widened and said, That's 60% of the inheritance. How can we let an illegitimate daughter take advantage of it? Sister, you're right. If you need my help, just call me. Some people like to gossip behind people's backs, but when they were face to face, they didn't dare to say a word. Luo Shui and Luo Sha were classic examples of this kind of people. Luo Qingchen stood on the rooftop of the garden. The night breeze gently brushed against her cheek. The wind tonight was especially comfortable. Heavy footsteps sounded in her ears. Luo Qingchen looked out of the corner of her eyes. It was Luo Jin. He was holding 2 cups of coffee in his hand. He looked at her and said, "I just made it. Do you want to have a cup?" There was a rich coffee scent in the air. Luo Qingchen curled her lips into a smile and said with a nod, "All right." There was a place to sit on the rooftop of the villa's garden. Luo Qingchen took a sip of coffee and said, "Well, not bad. Aren't you afraid that I'll poison you?" Luo Jin leaned back in her chair and squinted her eyes. There was a lazy smile on her lips. He had never believed in the so-called love at first sight, but now he was very sure that whether it was love at first sight or not, he really wanted to get close to her. In the next second, Luo Qingchen rested her chin on her left hand and habitually tapped the table with her right hand. "Do you think you can kill me?" I walked out of the morgue. Luo Jin stared deeply at her. After a long while, a faint chill flashed across her pitch-black eyes. "Why did you choose him?" These simple words didn't have any preamble or follow-up, but Luo Qingchen could understand them. It was always easier for 2 smart people to talk than other people. This was because they didn't need to use too many words to make the other person understand them. I've already answered this question many times today. Luo Qingchen took another sip of coffee and said, "Because he's good-looking." "Do you think the answer will be perfunctory to Frost Crane or the Shuang brothers?" Luo Jin's brows slightly moved as he said, "Or perfunctory to me." "All right." Luo Qingchen put down her cup and revealed a faint smile. "I chose him because I came to this world to meet him." Chapter 36-29. She wasn't lying, at least her words were all true. Not a single word was false. Luo Jin looked at her and felt an inexplicable sense of desolation in her heart. After that, Luo Jin narrowed his eyes as he looked at her and asked, "How credible do you think your answer is compared to the last one? Is it important how credible it is?" Luo Qingchen's lips curled as she said, "The important thing is whether you believe it or not." "I believe it." He seriously looked at her and said in a soft voice, "I believe this reason more, but I hope it's the last one." After a while, the 2 fell into silence. When it began to drizzle, Luo Qingchen drank the coffee in front of her and said, "It's a pity that I'll have to disappoint you. The reason you believe is the truth." As soon as her voice fell, Luo Qingchen slowly stood up and said, "Thank you for the coffee, good night." Although she didn't know why Luo Jin was interested in her, with her thousands of years of experience, Luo Jin shouldn't be a bad person. The next morning, the Shuang family sent a driver to pick her up early. When the door of the limited edition Rolls-Royce opened, a young man with a bright smile came out. "Big sister really looks good today. Ding, affection has increased by 10. Mission completion rate is now 20%. Pure people were that pure when it came to giving affection." Luo Qingchen looked at his face and her lips couldn't help curling into a smile. "Young Miss Luo, today is Madame Tsaiwei's birthday. Do you need me to take you to change your clothes later?" Luo Qingchen was playing with Shuangzi as she casually said, "It's her birthday today, so there should be a lot of guests." "Yes." The driver replied, "Most of the people in the circle are here." Luo Qingchen said with a nod, "I know, go and change your clothes." "Change clothes, change clothes." Shuangzi took her hand and said, "Big sister will definitely look good in a dress, you're a beautiful big sister." Luo Qingchen heard this and playfully said, "Really? Then do you call everyone beautiful big sister?" "Of course not." Shuangzi snorted proudly and said sincerely, "Only Qingchen is the beautiful sister. Everyone else is ugly." "That's more like it." Luo Qingchen smiled and said, "Let's go to the store where Shuangzi's gown is sold. You can pick a couple outfit." Couple outfits?" Shuangzi was stunned at first, then she clapped happily. "Wow. Can I wear matching outfits with my sister? Then isn't elder sister my wife? Yes. Luo Qingchen tilted her head and leaned on his shoulder. I am your wife. Ding, affection has increased by 10. Mission completion rate is now 30%. Skipping the word fiancé and becoming daughter-in-law felt pretty good. In fact, whenever she saw him here, she would always think of the time when he was covered in blood and clenched his teeth to protect her. He was calm and decisive. But now that she saw how happy he was, she couldn't help thinking that if she didn't appear in his life, perhaps he would be incomparably happy for the rest of his life. He didn't need to live for her, he didn't need to die for her. Young miss, we're here. The driver stopped the car and said, Third young master bought his clothes from this store. After that, she looked at Shuangzi on the side and said, Let's go buy clothes, all right? All right. Shuangzi nodded. She took her hand and got out of the car with her. Chapter 36:30. AQ was a very famous store for aristocrats. All the clothes sold there started at 6 figures. Logically speaking, these clothes weren't worth that price. But rich people's clothing was a matter of taste. To a certain extent, price was the basis of taste. Big sister, I think you'll look really good in this. Shuangzi seemed very excited. After entering the store, she jumped up and down like a child. The expressions of the attendants, standing to the side, were very strange. They really wanted to laugh, but they knew the other party's status and didn't dare to laugh out loud. Even so, Luo Qingchen didn't like this kind of smile. Really? Luo Qingchen glanced at it and said, Then let's try it on. Okay. In the next second, Luo Qingchen said in a cold voice, I'll take this one. I'll try it on. Let me try this one on. Before she could finish speaking, a pair of white hands snatched the light blue dress in front of her. Luo Qingchen narrowed her eyes. She turned to look at the source of the voice and saw a familiar face. Bai Shaoqing. This face was exactly the same as it was 1,000 years ago. For her sake, Liemo had hurt the original owner of this body. But now, it seemed that this woman wasn't all that great. She had a face covered in heavy makeup, peach blossom eyes, cherry lips, and a high, slightly deformed nose. Of course, what she disliked the most was Bai Shaoqing's fake eyelashes. She looked like she wanted to be a Barbie doll, but failed miserably. In that instant, Luo Qingchen didn't reach out to grab the dress, but Shuangzi did. You're not allowed to take my wife's things. Shuangzi tightly grabbed the hem of the dress, refusing to let go. Isn't this the third young master of the Shuang family? Bai Shaoqing didn't let go of the dress. Instead, he glanced at Luo Qingchen and said, Why are you calling her your wife when we're not even engaged yet? It seems that the fool isn't stupid after all. Actually, Bai Shaoqing had already recognized Luo Qingchen the moment she walked through the door. This illegitimate daughter of the Luo family, who had suddenly appeared, had nothing to do with Bai Shaoqing, but the marriage between the Luo family and the Shuang family had a lot to do with her. Bai Shaoqing was Shuanglan's girlfriend. She was a true girlfriend, not a rumored girlfriend. As for the Shuang group, Bai Shaoqing believed that among Frost Crane's 3 sons, Shuanglan was definitely more qualified to inherit the family business. But what she didn't expect was that Luo Qingchen would suddenly appear out of nowhere. The illegitimate daughter of the Luo family chose the 3 brothers of the Shuang family, and there was a rumor in the Shuang family that Frost Crane would let the person chosen by Luo Qingchen become the successor of the Shuang group. Although there was no evidence to prove that Frost Crane had really said that, there was no such thing as a groundless rumor in this world. Therefore, if Luo Qingchen chose Shuanglan, wouldn't her years of effort to get close to Shuanglan go to waste? If she had to choose Shuanglan, she might as well choose Liemo, who had always cared for her. But fortunately, Luo Qingchen didn't choose that. She went against everyone's expectations and chose the fool. But even so, she still hated this person. If Shuanglan couldn't become the successor of the Shuang family, all her years of effort would be in vain. Now that they had coincidentally met, it could be considered as a place to vent her anger. What? You're just a small upstart, yet you're here to act like an aristocrat? Luo Qingqian's cold eyes narrowed as her lips curved into a sneer. You definitely didn't come alone. Chapter 36-31. As expected, Bai Shaoqing was stunned for a moment, and her expression darkened. She had investigated Bai Shaoqing long ago. Originally, the Bai family was not considered a noble family, but because of a successful stone gambling, they suddenly became nouveau riche. However, nouveau riches were always temporary. They did not have stable real estate, and if they did not manage their finances properly, their money would only decrease. However, Bai Shaoqing, who had suddenly become a rich lady, did not want to manage her finances at all. She wanted to squander her money. Squandering money to satisfy her vanity, but she would soon realize that the sudden burst of money from the Bai family was not enough for her to squander. Therefore, she had to plan for herself as soon as possible. At another ball, she met the young master of the Shuang family, Shuanglan. However, although many people in the Shuang family knew about her relationship with Shuanglan, Shuanglan was unwilling to officially announce their relationship. Bai Shaoqing felt that there must be something fishy about this. Later, she found out that it was because the illegitimate daughter of the Luo family was going to marry the Shuang family. To Bai Shaoqing, the meat that was about to be in her mouth suddenly flew away. Naturally, she was unwilling to accept it. What does it have to do with you whether or not I came alone? Bai Shaoqing bit her lip and said, For this matter, I'll take the gown first. Your family's fool is wearing a white suit. Why don't you go find a white evening gown? Why are you snatching the blue one? Bai Shaoqing was aggressive. Every word and every tone seemed to be humiliating Shuangzi. You old witch, don't be fierce to my wife. Shuangzi was 1.8 meters tall, a head taller than Bai Shaoqing. Naturally, she was much stronger than Bai Shaoqing when it came to snatching the gown. In just a few seconds, most of the blue evening gown had been pulled to Shuangzi's side. Bai Shaoqing stomped her feet in exasperation and said angrily, You fool, let go of me. In the next second, Luo Qingqian's cold eyes narrowed. She looked at Bai Shaoqing and said, Bai Shaoqing, try calling her a fool again if you dare. 100 years after another, 1,000 years after another. He was always the one protecting her, and this time, he was the weaker party. She couldn't let this kind of person continue to humiliate him. Why should her family's youth be bullied by others? What did I call him a fool? The fury in Bai Shaoqing's heart had also reached his throat. He walked up to Shuangzi and pushed her away forcefully as he said, He's an idiot. Let him fall. Bai Shaoqing's speed of pushing people was very fast, which caught Shuangzi off guard. However, Luo Qingqian could predict her impatient actions. In the blink of an eye, she caught Shuangzi with her left hand and took 2 big steps forward. She raised her right hand and slapped Bai Shaoqing's face. She didn't even have time to react. She couldn't stabilize her body and staggered back. At the same time, Luo Qingqian snatched the evening gown back from her without hesitation. She narrowed her eyes and said, Wrap this up for me first. We'll buy it and cut it into pieces to play with. Play, play, play. Shuangzi stood beside Luo Qingqian. She snorted and said with a smile, I love paper cutting the most. Hiss. In that instant, all the attendants in the store sucked in a breath of cold air. Luo Qingqian was too fast. From the time Bai Shaoqing made his move to the time Bai Shaoqing was slapped, the whole process didn't even take 10 seconds. How could the word handsome describe it? Chapter 36-32. You actually hit me? You. What happened? In the next second, a low voice rang out. Liemo had probably parked his car and walked in through the door. In an instant, Bai Shaoqing's tone, which had originally wanted to curse out loud, softened instantly. Her eyes instantly turned red, and she ran to Liemo's side with tears and snot running down her face. Brother Liemo, she actually hit me. Liemo glanced at the bright red handprint on the left side of Bai Shaoqing's face and frowned slightly. He looked at Luo Qingqian and asked, Miss Luo, what happened? She didn't know why, but whether it was when Bai Shaoqing wanted to bully her or when she wanted to bully Shuangzi, her heart was always calm. But at this very moment, when Li Mo stood in front of her and questioned her in a reproachful tone, it was as if there was a raging fire burning in her heart. The scenes from 1,000 years ago flooded her mind at this moment, and her originally cold eyes were covered with a layer of killing intent. Li Mo looked at her eyes and his brows furrowed even tighter. He didn't know why he had such a strange feeling in the depths of his heart. It was as if every time he saw Luo Qingchen, he would feel exceptionally guilty. He couldn't explain it, but he also couldn't explain it. What he could be sure of was that they had never met before. He also didn't know why he had such a feeling. But now, even when he was questioning her, he felt an inexplicable sense of guilt in his heart. Look, I didn't wrongly accuse her," Bai Shaoqing cried. "She really hit me, everyone here can attest to that. Don't tell me I'll slap myself?" Humph! Instantly, Luo Qingchen snorted and looked at the surveillance camera in the upper left corner. "What happened? Don't you know how to look at the surveillance camera yourself? Are the words of others more real than what you see with your own eyes?" Li Mo was stunned. He could clearly feel Luo Qingchen's hostility towards him. The hostility this time was even more obvious than the first time they met. He didn't know why, but he knew that he didn't like this feeling. "You!" Bai Shaoqing's flushed face suddenly turned pale. She wanted to take the opportunity to talk nonsense, but she didn't expect that there would be surveillance cameras. "Obviously, he bullied my wife first, and he's still crying there." Shuangzi snorted proudly, shameless. "You!" Bai Shaoqing bit his lip and said, "How did I bully her? Did I hit her? She really did slap me in the face, okay? Even if I slap you, my hand will get dirty." Luo Qingchen held Shuangzi's hand and brushed past Bai Shaoqing. Then, she looked at the waiter and said, "Help me get the same suit as him and pack it up with this blue suit." Yes, Mississippi, at this moment, Bai Shaoqing was still standing in the same spot in a daze. This kind of humiliation of being completely crushed really made her heart burn with rage. But this anger had nowhere to vent. She was so angry that she couldn't catch her breath and almost fainted. Luckily, Li Mo was beside her and helped her up. Li Mo always had a faint mint scent on him, which was one of her favorite things about him. But between Shuanglan and Li Mo, she still chose Shuanglan. Although Li Mo was also a rich man's son, in her opinion, Shuanglan had a better chance of becoming the successor of the Shuang Corporation. Chapter 36-33. However, Li Mo had always been protective of her. Why did he seem to have changed today? The way he looked at Luo Qingchen was different. Although she couldn't tell what was different, she was certain that she didn't like the way he looked at her. Li Mo, seeing that Luo Qingchen was about to leave, Bai Shaoqing anxiously grabbed Li Mo's arm. "She's already bullied me. Are you going to let her go just like that?" In the past, he had felt that Bai Shaoqing was especially familiar to him, as if they had known each other for a long time. However, after Luo Qingchen appeared, he seemed to have completely shifted this feeling to her. Now that Bai Shaoqing was speaking to him in such a delicate manner, he couldn't help but feel annoyed. "Don't tell me you want me to check the surveillance footage to see what exactly happened?" His voice was very cold, and his left hand took her wrist away from his right arm. He headed in Luo Qingchen's direction. "Li Mo, you..." Before Bai Shaoqing could finish, Li Mo was already standing by the counter. He took out a black card and handed it to the attendant. "Use my card." "No need." Shuangzi stood in front of Luo Qingchen almost immediately. After rummaging through his pocket for a long time, he took out a card. "I'll buy my daughter-in-law's things myself." His voice was filled with hostility, making Luo Qingchen feel an inexplicable warmth. Shuangzi like this seemed to be the only one who had shown her his true heart. She could see through him with just one glance. Li Mo seemed a little embarrassed. "Shuangzi, be good. I just felt that my question to Miss Luo was too disrespectful. After all, she's an important guest of the Shuang family. Luo Qingchen heard this and looked up. Since you also said that I'm an important guest of the Shuang family, shouldn't it be more polite for the Shuang family to pay? Yes, yes, yes. What elder sister said is true. But, miss, here are your clothes. Liemo wanted to say more, but the waiter had already packed the clothes and tactfully took Shuangxi's card. Although the waiter didn't know much about the complicated relationships in the circle of rich and powerful people, they should know who was more suitable to take the card since Shuangxi called Luo Qingchen her daughter-in-law. After swiping the card, Luo Qingchen took the clothes with one hand and held Shuangxi's hand with the other. Let's go to the ball. All right. Bai Shaoqing was furious, but he could only watch as Luo Qingchen left his sight. She swore to herself that she would pay back today's humiliation tenfold. When Luo Qingchen and Shuangxi arrived at the Shuang residence, the banquet was about to begin. Today's main character was Madame Shuang, Li Kaiwei, a woman with a devastatingly beautiful face. After hearing that Frost Crane's first wife had died, Frost Crane had been depressed. It wasn't until he met Li Kaiwei at a banquet that he gradually came out of his depression. Li Kaiwei was also the daughter of a rich and powerful family. In terms of family assets, she might not be inferior to the Shuang family. However, in recent years, the Li family's business hadn't been going well. Li Kaiwei hoped that Li Mo could become a director or an internal member of the Shuang Family Corporation. Wait for me in the hall. I'll go change. A glimmer of light flashed in Frost's eyes. She looked at her and said, "Can't I go with you?" In the next second, Luo Qingchen's face flushed red. Of course not. Chapter 36-34. Ding, affection has increased by 10. Mission completion rate is now 40%. She was wearing a white evening dress and her slightly curled hair was tied up in a princess style. She was wearing a diamond-studded crown, looking playful and elegant. Li Tsaiwei's birthday banquet was very big. Luo Qingchen didn't want to attend, but she had to. After changing her clothes and walking out of the lounge, she saw Shuangxi waiting for her at the door. The lights in the banquet hall were a bit dim, and it shined on his almost perfect face, making him look even more handsome. His eyes were very deep and there was a faint coldness to them at this moment. Shuangxi. She softly called his name. He was a bit surprised hearing this, but he turned around with a bright smile on his face. Big sister is so beautiful. Shuangxi walked over to her side and gently held her hand. Big sister is the most beautiful girl in the world. If you praise me like this, big sister will be proud. Luo Qingchen revealed a soft smile, her eyes filled with a gentle smile. Shuangxi blurted out without any hesitation, "Big sister has the right to be proud." Really? Really? When Luo Qingchen and Shuangxi were chatting, Shuanglan's voice came from behind them. "Isn't this Miss Qingchen?" He was holding a glass of red wine as he looked at her with a gentlemanly and elegant smile. Seeing Miss Qingchen and third brother have such a good relationship as the big brother, I'm very happy. Although there was a smile on Shuanglan's lips, there was an obvious coldness in her eyes. She had changed a lot since the first time they met. Or it should be said that when they first met, Shuanglan hid herself very well. Then I'll have to thank Big Brother Shuang. Luo Qingchen revealed a business smile and said, "I passed by AQ on the way here and happened to meet Miss Bai Shaoqing." Shaoqing? Shuanglan's expression changed as she looked at Luo Qingchen with a probing gaze. Yes. Luo Qingchen's brows twitched slightly as she nodded. "I saw her with Li Mo just now." In the next second, Shuanglan's expression changed again. Although Bai Shaoqing was his secret girlfriend, he would not allow her to get too close to other men. He had heard about the improper relationship between Bai Shaoqing and Li Mo. He just didn't expect that Luo Qingchen, who had just entered the Shuang family, already knew about this matter. As a smart person in the same circle, Luo Qingchen obviously knew about his relationship with Bai Shaoqing from the way she spoke to him just now, and the relationship between Bai Shaoqing and Liemo. But no matter what the truth was, he couldn't reveal the slightest bit of panic at this time. Really? The Shuang clan and the Bai clan do have business dealings, so it's normal for Liemo to know Miss Bai. Oh, Luo Qingchen narrowed her eyes. So young Master Shuang doesn't know Bai Shaoqing? Shuanglan replied without hesitation. I know, but we're not familiar with each other. I see. From the way Miss Qingchen spoke, you don't seem to be on good terms with Miss Bai. Luo Qingchen said without hiding anything. Not only are we not on good terms, we have a history. Shuanglan's expression changed slightly. She immediately added, I heard that the Bai clan is just a nouveau riche. Of course they're different from people of our status. Luo Qingchen chuckled and didn't say anything else. Instead, she held Shuangxi's hand and walked towards the center of the banquet. Chapter 36-35. Not long after she sat down, Li Kaiwei came over. She looked very young, as if the years hadn't left many traces on her face. Welcome, Miss Luo, to my birthday banquet. Li Kaiwei raised her glass and said, Master is very concerned about you and the Shuang family. Luo Qingchen didn't have much contact with Li Kaiwei, so it wasn't a good or bad thing. But since the elder had come to propose a toast, as a junior, she should get up and return the greeting. I know. Luo Qingchen looked at Shuangxi and said, I also quickly made my choice, don't you think so, Madame Shuang? Yes. Li Kaiwei gently shook the glass of red wine in her hand and said, But are you sure you made the right choice? Shuangxi, who had been eating, was stunned when he heard this, but he didn't look up and continued eating. Luo Qingchen nodded without any hesitation and said, I'm very sure. Ding, affection has increased by 10. Mission completion rate is now 50%. Actually, Liemo is a good child if... Doesn't young Master Liemo already have a girlfriend? Before Li Kaiwei could finish, Luo Qingchen cut her off and said, I saw him with Bai Shaoqing at AQ just now. Li Kaiwei's face changed in an instant. 3 seconds later, she revealed an awkward smile and said, It's like this. I didn't know. I'm not sure either. Luo Qingchen deliberately shrugged and said with a smile, Maybe they're just good friends. Li Kaiwei heard this and gave a slight nod before walking off in another direction. There was a sudden feeling of ice and fire in her heart. The Li family put so much effort into cultivating Liemo so that he would have a good future. How could his nephew? How could he fall for Bai Shaoqing? Just as Li Kaiwei was about to ask Liemo about it, the host on the stage began to speak. Welcome everyone to Madame Shuang's birthday banquet. Let us all raise our glasses to wish Madame Shuang a happy birthday. The next second everyone said, Happy birthday. In addition, our chairman of the Shuang group, Mr. Frost Crane, also has an important announcement to make. The host smiled and said, Let's use the warmest applause to welcome Chairman Shuang to the stage. Pa 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 pa, ahem. Frost Crane stepped onto the stage, picked up the microphone and said, First of all, I would like to wish my beautiful wife a happy birthday. I am very happy to be with her. In addition, I want to announce something more important. Frost Crane paused and said, I've decided to make Shuangxi the successor of Frost Enterprise. Hiss. At this moment, everyone in the banquet hall sucked in a breath of cold air. This kind of explosive news was already a surprise to the onlookers. As for the other members of the Shuang family, it was simply a shock. After all, the only person who should be surprised was still eating without a care in the world. Perhaps this isn't the best choice for such a huge corporation like the Shuang Group. Frost Crane explained, but this way, I'll be able to answer to my best friend. As soon as his voice fell, Frost Crane looked at Luo Qingchen who was eating and said, Qingchen, please come up with Shuangxi for everyone to see. Luo Qingchen was very calm. There was no surprise or joy on her face. After all, she didn't choose Shuangxi because he was a member of the Shuang family. Moreover, if it wasn't for her, Shuangzi probably wouldn't have become the successor of the Shuang family. Chapter 36-36. Ugh. Bang. Before Luo Qingchen could hold on to Shuangzi's hand, his face darkened as he grabbed onto his neck and fell off the chair. Cries of alarm came from all around. Luo Qingchen immediately crouched down to check his pulse, muttering, "There's poison in the cake. What's wrong? Did something happen?" Liemo rushed to her side and asked with concern, "I'll call 120 right now." Luo Qingchen's brows furrowed as she picked up a bottle of water and poured it into Shuangzi's mouth. His face was flushed red and his breathing was ragged. His eyes were closed and he looked like he was in pain. Someone actually dared to poison her right under her nose. They really didn't put her, someone who had lived for thousands of years, in their eyes. Affiliated one hospital. An hour later, the doctor finally came out of the emergency room. He wiped off his sweat and said, "The amount of poison young Master Shuang had was enough to kill him. Fortunately, we managed to save his life." "Doctor, when will my brother wake up?" Shuanglan's eyes were filled with worry as she asked the doctor. "If nothing goes wrong, he should wake up tomorrow." The doctor said, however, people who are poisoned too deeply will be mentally affected. Everyone should be mentally prepared. Luo Qingchen could clearly feel the disappointment in Shuangzi's eyes when the doctor said that Shuanglan would wake up tomorrow. Although it was only for a second, it didn't escape her eyes. "Ha ha ha!" Shuangying laughed coldly and snorted. "Does it matter if my brain is affected? You're our family's private doctor. You should know that my third brother is an idiot." "Little Ing, watch your words," Frost Crane scolded in front of everyone. "If you talk about your brother like that again, you'll have to bear the consequences." Shuangying clearly wasn't convinced. She gritted her teeth and said, "Dad, you can't be this biased. It's not like we don't know what Shuangzi is capable of. You can't let him be the Shuang family's successor just because Luo Qingchen chose him." Slap. A resounding slap landed on Shuangying's face. Frost Crane had personally slapped the so-called genius of the Shuang family in front of everyone. Shuanglan stood up in the next second. "Dad, don't be angry. Little Ing didn't mean that. He's just worried about third brother being poisoned. It's just that announcing the heir this time is a bit too hasty." Shuanglan was very smart. She could do a good job as a middleman every time. She used a persuasion while expressing her opinion. "No. I don't care whether Shuangzi is dead or alive." Shuangying glanced at Shuanglan with contempt and said, "I never care about people who aren't on the same level as me." He turned around and walked toward the hospital door without hesitation. He didn't look back even after taking a step. Geniuses were always like this. They didn't want to be compared with others, but they couldn't lose to a fool. "What an unfilial son," Frost Crane said with a red face. "Little Lon, you go deal with the company's affairs first. I'll stay here and look after your brother." "Okay, Dad." Shuanglan gently patted Frost Crane's shoulder and said, "Don't worry, Dad. Little Ci has been lucky since he was a child. He'll be fine." "Okay." In an instant, Frost Crane's eyes glowed with a dark light and said, "I must find out why little Ci was poisoned. Who dared to poison my Shuang family's banquet?" Chapter 36-37. When Shuangzi was sent to the hospital, the police had already obtained the surveillance footage from the banquet hall. A few hours later, the footage was sent to Frost Crane's phone. Frost Crane then sent the footage to Luo Qingchen. Shuangzi was sitting at the table in the middle of the room. Other than Shuangzi, there was no one else at the table. He ate many kinds of food. Other than the cake, there were also other foods on the table. Although Shuangzi had been eating for half an hour, there were only a few people around the table. Other than the two Shuang brothers, there was only Liemo, Li Kaiwei, and Bai Shaoqing. According to the footage, Bai Shaoqing was the most likely to have poisoned her. However, the footage didn't show her poisoning, so it could only be a guess. Qingchen, Who do you think is most likely to have poisoned Xiaoxi? Frost Crane was deeply troubled. He even felt that he was in danger because he had chosen Shuangzi as his successor. Luo Qingchen gently shook her head. I don't know. Originally, she had some idea of who it was, but after watching the footage, she was even more confused. Any one of the people in the footage could have poisoned Xiaoxi, but whoever it was, it would be too obvious. She watched the footage over and over again, but still felt that something was wrong. It was already late at night. She told Frost Crane to go home and rest while she stayed at the hospital to take care of Shuangzi. At the same time, at the Li family home, because of Shuangzi's poisoning, Li Kaiwei found another excuse to return to the Li family home. She also called Liu Mo and Bai Shaoqing over. In fact, she didn't want to call Bai Shaoqing, but she was still brooding over what Luo Qingchen had said to her today. Auntie, why did you call me back? Liu Mo frowned slightly. Could it be you? Of course it wasn't me. Li Kaiwei looked at the two of them sternly. I was going to ask if it was you too. But what I want to know is, what's your relationship? Bai Shaoqing wasn't very happy to be called to the Li family home for no reason, but recently, Shuanglan had been very cold to her, as if she could distance herself. She had no choice. In order not to lose Liu Mo, she had no choice but to agree to Li Caiwei's request. Madame Shuang, actually, Liu Mo and I. There's nothing between us. Bai Shaoqing had originally wanted to play hard to get and use a more ambiguous way to describe his relationship with Liu Mo. However, he didn't expect Liu Mo to hesitate at all and directly reject their relationship. That's good. Li Caiwei's cold eyes narrowed as she said, Liu Mo, you have to pay attention to your status. You can't just associate with any random person. The aristocratic circle is divided into many types of aristocrats, you have to understand. Aunt, I know, hey. Bai Shaoqing's sudden words were naturally very unwilling. She widened her eyes and said, Madame Shuang, what do you mean? As if I have to cling on to Liu Mo. I don't mean anything. Li Kaiwei looked at her, revealing a professional and elegant smile. It's just that in our circle, we're all well-matched in terms of social status. But judging from your tone with Liu Mo today, I've probably misunderstood your relationship. If you have nothing to do with Shuangzi's matter, you may leave now. Bai Shaoqing wanted to say something, but she was restrained by the fact that she was an elder. Moreover, both the Shuang family and the Li family were above her in status. Chapter 36-38. Bai Shaoqing called Shuanglan as soon as he walked out of the door of the Li mansion. It was a complaint on the phone. Shuanglan looked very helpless, but it was not good to fall out with her directly. She could only comfort her with a warm tone, Baby, don't be angry. But my stepmother is really too much. She actually suspected that I poisoned Shuangzi. Please, am I that stupid? Bai Shaoqing snorted coldly and said, There are surveillance cameras everywhere. Wouldn't I be digging my own grave if I poisoned her? Yeah. Who would do such a stupid thing? Probably because Shuanglan mentioned it, Bai Shaoqing asked tentatively, Darling, is this matter related to you? Shuanglan on the phone was stunned for a moment, then she chuckled and said, Baby? How can a man who is entrusted with his life be so stupid? Humph. You still remember the relationship between me and her? Bai Shaoqing snorted proudly and said, I thought that after Luo Qingchen appeared, she couldn't even differentiate between north, south, east, and west. Please, if she wasn't the daughter-in-law that father chose, I wouldn't even like her. Shuanglan's tone became a little unpleasant. After all, Bai Shaoqing mentioning this matter was equivalent to mentioning the most embarrassing thing to him. If he had lost to Shuangying this time, it would have been fine, but in the end, he lost to a fool. So now you like her because of her identity? Bai Shaoqing asked tentatively, Darling, are you really going to let that fool inherit the Shuang family? How is that possible? Shuanglan glanced at the time and said, I've been so busy these days that I haven't had time to date with my baby. Where are you now? I'll pick you up. Humph. That's more like it. I'm at the entrance of the Li mansion. Half an hour later, Shuanglan picked up Bai Shaoqing. The two of them kissed passionately in the car, then Bai Shaoqing snuggled in Shuanglan's arms and said while panting, I don't care. I've been reconciled for so long. You have to be responsible for me. Whenever Bai Shaoqing recalled what Luo Qingchen had done to her in the clothing store today, she would be filled with anger. Now that she had worked so hard for so long to become the girlfriend who was most likely to be the successor of the Shuang clan, she was not willing to accept it because of a fool. Baby, if you weren't leaning in my arms now, I would have thought that you didn't want to marry me, but wanted to marry the heir of the Shuang family. Shuanglan gently stroked the hair in front of her eyes, and a faint light flashed through his eyes. Bai Shaoqing's heart skipped a beat. Fortunately, her head was lowered and Shuanglan did not see the slight change in her expression. She was a woman who was very clear about what she wanted. If Shuanglan was not the most likely successor of the Shuang clan, she would not have dated him. However, the feeling of being exposed in front of everyone wasn't that great either. How is that possible? Bai Shaoqing immediately shook his head and said, Didn't Uncle Shuang already announce that Shuangzi will be the person in charge? I'm not lying in his arms right now. That's true. Shuanglan bent down and kissed Bai Shaoqing's lips forcefully and said, I'll be satisfied tonight. Aya, this is bad. Bai Shaoqing shyly lowered her head and said, But are we really not going to do anything about Shuangzi? Are we just going to let a fool become the successor? I said that it's impossible. Shuanglan's right hand slightly lifted Bai Shaoqing's chin and said, When necessary, I will take the necessary measures. Do you want to join? Chapter 36-39. What kind of method? For example. A dark light flashed in Shuanglan's eyes. She sneered and said, Make this fool disappear from the world forever. Bai Shaoqing's expression didn't change at all. Instead, he smiled and said, My dear, I'm actually thinking the same thing. Besides, I don't think the two of us are the only ones who want to deal with him. Shuanglan sneered. If his poisoning has nothing to do with us, then there must be someone more meticulous than us who wants him dead. Who do you think it is? Bai Shaoqing pursed his lips. It could be Madame Shuang, or it could be Shuangying. It was probably because Bai Shaoqing only mentioned the names of these two people. Shuanglan's eyes darkened slightly as she said, What? Is Li Mo that clean in your eyes? Wouldn't he do something like poisoning someone? The air seemed to be filled with jealousy. Bai Shaoqing covered his mouth and laughed. My dear, you're so cute. I have no interest in Li Mo, but I do understand him. He doesn't seem to care much about the Shuang family's wealth. The one who really cares is Madame Shuang. Some people can't be seen on the surface. Shuanglan narrowed her eyes. Just like how I think even our father could be the one who poisoned him. Ah! Bai Shaoqing was taken aback. You suspect Uncle Shuang? It's not that I suspect him, it's just a hypothesis. Shuanglan's eyebrows twitched. Luo Qingchen chose Shuangzi to be her fiancé. Father naturally wouldn't have thought of that. However, my father is a very loyal person. If he promised Luo Banshan something, he would do it even if he had to break a wall. So even though father had no choice but to agree to Luo Qingchen's choice with a smile, he must have been very worried. Shuanglan touched Bai Shaoqing's face and said, Shuang's group is the business my father has worked for half of his life. Do you think he will be willing to hand it over to a fool? Wow! At this moment, Bai Shaoqing's face revealed a look of admiration. He hugged Shuanglan tightly and said, Darling, you're so amazing. So, since so many people have the motive to harm him, it doesn't matter if we intervene. Shuanglan narrowed her eyes and said, What if our intervention becomes the most crucial one? Darling, what are you going to do? Ouch! My baby is very curious. Shuanglan smiled coldly and said, I've already sent someone to follow him. As long as he goes out, we'll find an opportunity to kill him. The problem is that he's in the hospital now, so there aren't many opportunities to kill him. There will always be a chance, darling. I believe in you. As soon as he finished speaking, Bai Shaoqing's lips moved forward, and Shuanglan kissed him fiercely. At the same time, in the hospital ward, Luo Qingchen was reading a magazine while staying by Xuanxi's side. After 2 bottles of water were given, he frowned and opened his eyes slightly. What kind of eyes were those? Deep, cold, indifferent, and full of indescribable emotions. During this period of time, Luo Qingchen often saw Xuanxi's face show such an expression, but it quickly disappeared and then turned into a smile full of stars in his eyes. But this time, he had this expression for a long time. Luo Qingchen raised his right hand slightly and waved it in front of him, saying, "Are you awake? Do you feel uncomfortable anywhere?" Chapter 3640. It was like her familiar voice pulled Xuanxi back to reality as his eyes filled with a pure glow. He threw himself into her embrace and said, "Big sister, I just had a very scary dream. I dreamed that I disappeared and I couldn't bear it. Ding, affection has increased by 10. Mission completion rate is now 60%. Luo Qingchen could clearly feel Xuanxi's strong heartbeat and the cold sweat on his back. She didn't know what kind of dream Xuanxi had, but based on his reaction, it shouldn't be a good dream. Dreams and reality are opposite. Luo Qingchen softly patted his head and said, "Don't be too afraid." "But I was very strong in the dream." Xuanxi lowered his head and said, "He seemed to be me and not me, but my heart strangely felt like I liked him very much." "Like him very much?" Luo Qingchen pursed her lips and said, "Perhaps it was because of the poison that caused the dream. I'll have the doctor take a look." No. Xuanxi shook his head. "Big sister, don't leave. If the doctor says it's fine, we can leave the hospital tomorrow." Luo Qingchen gave a soft laugh. "You don't want to stay in the hospital forever, right? Actually, the hospital is quite good," he proudly said with a nod. "There aren't many people in the hospital, there's only me and big sister." Luo Qingchen suddenly felt that this Xuanxi was very pure, even his expression of love was very direct. The doctor gave Xuanxi another examination and found that his body was normal. There weren't any big problems, and he could leave the hospital. The next morning, Xuanxi seriously looked at her and said, "Big sister, I feel like I've gone around a ghost this time, and I'm very afraid." Luo Qingchen looked at his pure face and could see that he had a purpose for saying this. "Then what do you want to do?" "Big sister, let's go to the amusement park, all right?" Xuanxi revealed a bright smile and said, "I want to hold my daughter-in-law's hand and go to the amusement park together." "Okay." Luo Qingchen chuckled, "We'll go wherever Xuanxi wants to go." Ding, affection has increased by 10. Mission completion rate is now 70%. Once upon a time, he was the one who would take her wherever she wanted to go in countless planes. But now, she had exchanged identities with him. She was pampering him like a child, and she felt an inexplicable satisfaction in her heart. When they came out of the hospital, the driver was already waiting for them at the entrance. Luo Qingchen asked Xuanxi where he wanted to go. He said he wanted to go to Ocean Park. The Ocean Park in City A was very famous. Every day, many parents would bring their children there to play. Luo Qingchen felt that she had brought a great friend. "Miss, do you need me to accompany you or wait at the door?" Luo Qingchen looked at the time and said, "We probably won't play that fast. Let's go back and rest first. We'll go back by ourselves later. Master is worried about the young miss and young master's safety." The driver suggested, "How about you let me go with you?" No. Xuanxi seriously rejected. "It's hard enough to have some time with my daughter-in-law, don't disturb us." It's fine," Luo Qingchen said with a faint smile. "I will protect his safety." "All right." The driver nodded. "Then I'll wait at the door. You can call me if the young miss needs the car." Chapter 3641. Although Luo Qingchen didn't know why Shuangzi wanted to go to the amusement park, he had a lot of fun in the amusement park. But they were all relatively mild projects, and he didn't dare to play any of the exciting projects. Sister, are you afraid of ghosts? Standing in front of the haunted house, Shuangzi's eyes flickered. He seemed to want to go, but he was a little afraid. Luo Qingchen knew that Shuangzi wanted to show off in front of her, or protect her to go to the haunted house together. I'm not afraid of anything, but I'm super afraid of ghosts. Luo Qingchen deliberately showed a scared look and looked at him. Let's not play this project. Ghosts are fake. Shuangzi took her hand, and his eyes flickered with a pure and serious light. I'll protect you. Let's go. Okay. Luo Qingchen nodded gently, but you have to protect me. The haunted house in this large ocean park was rebuilt, with a large area and a total of 3 floors, including a basement. The name was Mori Hospital. Just from the name, one could know that this was a haunted house built with the theme of a hospital, which was very different from the haunted houses they had visited before. Probably because they were in the amusement park, there were too many people coming and going. Even Luo Qingchen didn't notice that someone had been following them. Please deposit your bags and valuables, and put on our special clothes here. The manager at the door patiently introduced and handed 2 brand new clothes to Luo Qingchen and Shuangzi. Wow! Shuangzi said with a look of surprise, so I'm wearing a couple's outfit with my sister again? Yes. Luo Qingchen chuckled and quickly put on the clothes. The manager looked at them and said, Brother, you're so handsome. Can I take a picture with you later? Not my younger brother. Shuangzi corrected him after putting on her clothes. She's my wife. The next second, the waitress smiled awkwardly and said, Sorry? It's fine. Luo Qingchen chuckled. He's quite a tsundere. Yes. Shuangzi's eyes suddenly became serious. It's mine. I don't think I'll let anyone take it away. You guys are so blessed. The waitress passed the 2 white candles to them and said, Because our haunted house's map is quite big, and it is an exploration-type haunted house. Some places are very dark and require the help of candles for illumination. There will be a total of 10 people going in at a time. Everyone must actively collect clues in order to have a chance to come out. Okay. The group of people behind him said in unison. Luo Qingchen didn't feel anything wrong. She took Shuangzi's hand and walked inside with the same group of people. They didn't walk in the first place and didn't walk in the last place. As soon as they entered the door, they felt a cold wind blowing past their ears. The air was filled with the smell of alcohol and formalin, and the horrible atmosphere of the hospital was instantly set off. Shuangzi's hands instantly oozed cold sweat, but she still took a step forward, wanting to stand in front of her to protect her. Ding! An elevator appeared in front of them. Everyone was stunned. The moment the elevator door opened, a patient in a hospital gown and covered in blood climbed out. The people around instantly screamed. Shuangzi directly threw herself into her arms. Chapter 36-42. Luo Qingchen frowned slightly. She raised her right hand to touch Shuangzi's head and said, Don't be scared, it's all fake. I'm not scared. He snuggled into her arms, his face slightly pale. The people who came in at the same time looked at each other. Among them, a blonde girl said, Mrs. Very Brave. Why don't you take us with you? The elevator slowly descended, and the door on the right opened. It was a quiet corridor, and they could only bend down to move forward. Okay, she answered softly. She used the candle to shine inside and bent down to enter. The corridor was very clean, but it was a little long. The smell of blood could be smelled. Suddenly, probably because of the haunted house's mechanism, the entire corridor shook. The corridor split into 4 parts, and they moved to the north, south, east, and west respectively. It was precisely because she walked a little faster that she didn't end up in the same corridor as Shuangzi. This haunted house was very well made, but after all, it was a place for children to have fun. Sister, sister! Shuangzi called twice. Luo Qingchen signaled at him and said, "Stay where you are. I'll go find you." Luo Qingchen's corridor led to the eastern platform, and behind it was a dark room. Just as she walked to the door, something thick like blood flowed out. She shrugged and opened the door. A patient with scalpels stuck in his body rushed out. He was covered in blood and made a face at her. And she, before and after she saw the ghost, her expression did not change at all. The next second, the ghost looked embarrassed. He shook his head full of scalpels and said, "You, how come you're not scared at all?" He thought that the eastern room he was in was the scariest of all the rooms. In the past, it was always the boys who were assigned to this room because the boys walked at the front. But today there was only one girl who was assigned to this room, and only one girl. He even imagined that he could scare the girl until she fainted, but he did not expect when he roared. His heart was beating non-stop, but the girl did not react at all. What a failure! As a ghost, it was an absolute defeat. In an instant, they heard Shuangzi's miserable shriek. Luo Qingchen frowned, and the exquisite ring on her right hand lightly shook, directly lighting up the room. "Holy sh*t, little sister, your flashlight is very advanced." Ghost took off the scalpel on his body and asked, "Where can I buy it?" Luo Qingchen's cold eyes narrowed. The other party was so frightened that he staggered back. He swallowed his saliva and said, "Don't look at me like that. Just pretend I didn't say anything. Where do I go to get to the room in the south?" "Go out and turn left. Follow the escape stairs and you'll see the third building. It's the south floor." As the ghost answered carefully, he looked at her with an almost worshipful gaze. Luo Qingchen took 2 steps and seemed to think of something. She looked back at him and said, "I don't think you're scary because real ghosts don't look like this." As her voice fell, the corners of her mouth rose slightly, and she disappeared into the darkness of the haunted house. The youth dressed as a ghost stood in place coldly, his eyes wide open. After repeating Luo Qingchen's words in his heart, he scratched his head and said, "Real? What is a real ghost?" After thinking for a while, he ran around the room and said, "So scary. So scary. Smiley face, hurry up and read the latest chapters." Chapter 3643. At the same time, in the southern room, there were originally 2 ghosts pretending to be nurses, but they were subdued by 3 strong men. Shuangzi was forced into a corner with 4 of the people who came in with them. They were holding knives in their hands as they approached Shuangzi step by step. "Big sister, save me." "No one can save you. Your big sister is in the easternmost position, she can't come over." The man's mouth revealed a cold smile as he said, "But this is also your big sister's fault. If she didn't choose you, perhaps you wouldn't have to die." Layers of dark shadows covered Shuangzi. He slightly lowered his eyes and was startled. His originally pure and harmless expression instantly became exceptionally cold. "Idiot, go report to the King of Hell's palace." The man raised his knife and stabbed towards Shuangzi's neck. In the blink of an eye, a golden light flashed and directly came in. Luo Qingchen held her phoenix dance sword and stood at the door. Her cold eyes were filled with killing intent. "Are you looking for death?" The man angrily said. "Since you want to be a dead couple with him, then this father will fulfill your wish." As soon as his voice fell, several large men surrounded Luo Qingchen. Moreover, each of them had a knife in their hands. The moment the golden light flashed, Shuangzi's originally cold eyes returned to their pure and harmless appearance. He loudly shouted, "Big sister, don't worry about me. Big sister, quickly run." "Chem?" Luo Qingchen's voice was extremely cold. She coldly snorted and said, "I'll return the first sentence you said to me." "First sentence?" The man didn't seem to have reacted when Luo Qingchen jumped up. Her phoenix dance sword directly cut open the other's arm, and blood instantly flowed out. Your uncle. Do you think you were born in ancient times and still use a broken sword?" The man covered his painful wound and spat out a mouthful of saliva. Let's go together. Shio, shio, shio. 4 sword lights flashed and cut open their arms and thighs. The Phoenix dance sword was extremely sharp. No matter how strong the arm was, the bones would be visible. Ouch! A series of groans came from the room. The 2 girls who were originally pretending to be ghosts quickly picked up the phone to call the police. Luo Qingchen slowly walked to Xuanxi's side. She squatted down and patted his head. Don't be afraid, I'm here. Ding, affection has increased by 10. Mission completion rate is now 80%. No matter if he was a cold and arrogant genius or a fool who didn't know anything, she would protect him just like how he protected her in the past. Big sister. Xuanxi hugged her, her clear eyes sparkling with tears. It's so good to have big sister here. Luo Qingchen gently patted his shoulder, and the light in her eyes became even colder. There was actually someone who wanted Xuanxi's life. Who could this person be? Was it the same person who had poisoned him that day? At the same time, in the Bai family, Shuanglan and Bai Shaoqing were doing strenuous exercise in the bedroom at home while waiting for a good rest. They never thought that it wouldn't be good news, but rather a call from one of them. Young Master Lan, De Tu and the others were caught. The 4 of us weren't there, so we escaped. Caught? Shuanglan said in a voice of disbelief. Aren't there 8 of you? Can't you deal with a woman and a fool? Smiley face, hurry up and read the latest chapters. Chapter 3644. On the other end of the phone, Xiao Chong gulped. I don't think she's an ordinary woman. I secretly went to the police station to check on them. Big Head was covered in sword wounds and was about to die. Sword wounds? Shuanglan sneered. Do you think you're filming a wuxia movie? How can there be sword wounds? It's true. Big Head's injuries are the most serious, and he's already been sent to the hospital. Xiao Chong took a deep breath. But since it's our own fault that we failed, we won't give young Master Lan away. However, I'm afraid we won't be taking any more jobs. He would never forget the look in Luo Qingchen's eyes when he walked into the room in the south. Cold, disdainful, as if she would stab him in the chest with the sword in her hand. At that moment, he felt his legs trembling uncontrollably. He felt like he was close to a demon. You guys are so weak. Shuanglan walked down from the bed naked. I don't need you guys for this. Shuanglan angrily hung up the phone and unhappily said to Bai Shaoqing, These people are useless. Bai Shaoqing pursed his lips. Darling, I think you're too kind. Dealing with a fool doesn't require so much planning. You just need to be quick, accurate, and ruthless. The police are already involved in the investigation. Shuanglan frowned. Although they won't give me away, I'd better stay out of the limelight for now. Darling, if you don't want to do it, we can get someone else to do it for us. Bai Shaoqing revealed a foxy smile. Madame Shuang, don't you want to kill Xuanxi? Compared to us, if Xuanxi really becomes the successor of the Shuang family, Liemo will get even less. Shuanglan's cold eyes narrowed. Darling, it seems like you care a lot about Liemo. I don't, okay? Bai Shaoqing knelt on the bed and stroked the man's hard chest. I only love you, but we can use Liemo as a chess piece. I'm afraid Liemo might not be willing. Shuanglan lifted her chin and stroked her delicate skin. Bai Shaoqing stroked his hand and smiled. Liemo may not be willing, but Madame Shuang must be willing. Everyone in the world prefers to do business with smart people. Shuanglan thought about it and smiled. Baby, I think you're right. Madame Shuang will be happy to do business with me. At this moment, Li Kaiwei was drinking coffee with the young mistress of the Luo family. Yang Yaji's complexion was still a little pale, but after this period of physical and psychological treatment, although she had not recovered 100%, she had recovered 70% to 80%. However, he still couldn't be provoked. Luo Shui and Luo Sha couldn't understand why she suddenly stopped. Only she knew that it was the sound of fear from the bottom of her heart. Yaji, we can be considered old friends. Li Kaiwei put down the phone in her hand and said, "You also know that old master intends to pass the inheritance to his third son, Shuangzi, but he's a fool." Although her words didn't seem like much on the surface, in reality, it was already a test. Yang Yaji naturally felt her probing. She took a sip of coffee and said, "Kaiwei, if there's anything you want to say, just say it. That illegitimate daughter of your family, Luo Qingchen, you probably don't like her either." Li Kaiwei put a cube of sugar into the coffee and said, "I heard that illegitimate daughter inherited 60% of Luo Banshan's assets. I'm surprised that you can tolerate it." Smiley face, hurry up and read the latest chapters. Chapter 3645. When the three words, Luo Qingchen, rang in her ears again, her face suddenly turned pale. "Why? Am I wrong?" 3 seconds later, Yang Yiji pulled a smile and said, "You want to deal with her? She has always been by that fool's side to protect him." Li Kaiwei said truthfully, "I heard that someone wanted to kill him today, but he was protected by that girl Luo Qingchen." Ahem. Yang Yeji cleared her throat and said, "The people who wanted to kill him should be miserable." Li Kaiwei was stunned and said, "How do you know?" It was impossible for outsiders to know about the people who hired Shuanglan. One of the people who were detained at the police station was admitted to the ICU, and the other 3 were seriously injured. Although she didn't know how these strong men were defeated by a little girl like Luo Qingchen, they were seriously injured. "Because that woman, she is a devil." Yang Yaji's tone suddenly became very indiscernible, carrying a cold smile as she said, "You must never provoke her, because not only will you not be able to obtain what you want, you will also lose everything you have." Is she so scary? Li Kaiwei was still skeptical, but she felt that with her understanding of Yang Yaji for so many years, she could say that a person was scary, which proved how scary this person was. Listen to the advice of an old friend. Yang Yaji gently pursed her lips and knocked on the table with her right hand, saying, "Don't provoke her. Even if you are lucky enough to kill that fool, you can't escape." This was the first time Li Kaiwei heard Yang Yaji praise a little girl, but she had to believe it. After all, there had never been anyone who could make Yang Yaji say such words before. "I know." Li Kaiwei said, "I will go now. If you are really embarrassed, Luo Shui and Luo Sha can be lent to you." Yang Yaji sneered and said, "After all, they have been clamoring all day to find Luo Qingchen for revenge, but they have no chance." "You mean, the other 2 daughters of the Luo family?" "Yes." Yang Yaji's eyebrows twitched slightly. "Then, regardless of whether this matter succeeds or not, it won't do you any harm. Since Luo Shui and Luo Sha wanted to die so badly, it would be too kind of her to stop them." She never liked the word kind. She always felt that kind and stupid lived next door in certain fields. "All right," Li Kaiwei nodded and said, "I'll have Shuanglan look for Luo Shui and Luo Sha." "Okay." Yang Yaji narrowed her eyes and felt a lot better for some reason. It wasn't that she didn't know how strong Luo Qingchen was. If Luo Shui and Luo Sha died, she could inherit their inheritance, which was definitely a good thing. After receiving the message from Li Kaiwei, Shuanglan began to contact Luo Shui and Luo Sha to meet at the coffee shop. Rich girls always liked to dress up gorgeously and wear bright colors, which could bring out the so-called beauty in their hearts to the extreme. 2 beautiful ladies. Shuanglan handed each of them a rose and said, "Nice to meet you, please take care of us." Luo Shui and Luo Sha took the roses with a shy look on their faces. However, Shuanglan's heart was full of disdain. These 2 girls were not even a third of Luo Qingchen's beauty, let alone by Shaoqing's. No wonder Luo Banshan chose Luo Qingchen as the target for the agreement with the Shuang family. Looks were also important. After all, they were ugly and could not bring out their cards. Chapter 3646. Young Master Lan, I've been looking forward to meeting you for a long time. Luo Shui blinked her bean-sized eyes. "Actually, we've met once at the banquet, but you might not remember." "How could I not remember?" Shuanglan chuckled. Miss Luo, I've always regretted that I didn't ask you for a dance. Young Master Lan, aren't you afraid that the other girl here will be unhappy? Luo Sha knew that she was prettier than Luo Shui, but she didn't get Shuanglan's praise immediately, so she naturally felt unhappy. In the next second, Shuanglan raised his hand and touched her nose. We've danced before, fool, have you forgotten? Really? Really? Shuanglan smiled. At Miss Lin Shushu's birthday banquet, you wore an orange evening gown and we danced together. Luo Shui's expression changed when she heard this. Not only were the two of them sisters, but their tastes were almost the same. Shuanglan felt inexplicably happy because he had always been brooding over the fact that Luo Qingchen chose Shuangzi over him. Now it was proven that it wasn't that he wasn't handsome enough, but that Luo Qingchen had a problem with her eyes. Alright. Luo Shui rolled her eyes. Didn't we say that we'd come out to discuss a plan? What are you talking about? Humph, Luo Sha snorted and whispered, wasn't someone talking very happily just now? Cough cough, Shuanglan cleared his throat. Two beauties, don't be angry, let's focus on the bigger picture. The two looked at each other, although they were still unhappy, they didn't want to continue this topic. Luo Shui took a sip of coffee. Yang Yaji said that girl isn't easy to deal with. Young Master Lan, have you thought of a foolproof plan? Of course I've thought of a foolproof plan. Shuanglan's deep eyes flashed with a cold light, the corner of his mouth raised. You just need to cooperate with me. How? Next Sunday is the engagement banquet of Shuangzi and Luo Qingchen. Yang Yaji will personally bring Luo Qingchen's wedding gown to show the agreement between the two families. At that time, you just need to stop the gown and let Luo Qingchen leave the venue, then we can guarantee that we can kill Shuangzi without fail. You really want to kill her? Luo Sha naturally, she was a little scared. Luo Shui rolled up her sleeves and said, I know what to do, but that girl is very smart. I can't guarantee how long she can delay. It won't take long. As long as she leaves the venue, we will do it directly. Shuanglan narrowed her eyes and said, the engagement banquet hasn't been completed, so they are not an engaged couple. Then according to the agreement, Frost Crane would definitely let Luo Qingchen choose another husband to complete the agreement between the two families. His opportunity. Time passed quickly, and a city ushered in the biggest wedding of the rich and powerful families. The daughter of the Luo family, Luo Qingchen, and the young master of the Shuang family, Shuangzi. Almost all the people in the aristocratic circle were present. Although everyone was smiling and congratulating on the surface, they were laughing at Luo Qingchen in their hearts for choosing a fool. In the dressing room. Why hasn't the wedding gown been sent over yet? It's about to start. The MC looked at Luo Qingchen and urged her anxiously. Luo Qingchen said calmly, if it hasn't been sent over, just change into an evening gown. You don't need to be too deliberate. Ahem. The next second Li Kaiwei coughed and said, this is the agreement between our two families, and also what your father wants to see. End of chapter. Chapter 36-47. Madam, you don't have to worry too much. Luo Qingchen shrugged and chuckled. I don't really care which wedding dress I use to attend the engagement party. I think it's still necessary. Frost Crane walked in slowly. Is Madame Luo still bothered by something? Is it because of little Ci? Uncle Frost, you're thinking too much. Luo Qingchen frowned. She didn't want to involve Shuangzi in this matter. She glanced at the time and said, I'll go get it myself later. As soon as her voice fell, Luo Qingchen's phone rang. It was a call from Yang Yaji. Qingchen, your dress was taken away by Luo Shui and Rosa. Yang Yaji's tone was a little nervous. She took a deep breath and said, I didn't stop them, sorry. She really didn't know where the two girls took Luo Qingchen's dress, but this dress was supposed to be taken from her to the Shuang family today. For Yang Yaji, Luo Qingchen was a devil. She would never provoke her again. This time, she called her because she was afraid that she would misunderstand. She deliberately took the dress. Okay, I know. Luo Qingchen hung up the phone and said, I'm going out for a while. I'll be back soon. She made 2 calls and found out where Luo Shui and Rosa were, but when she arrived, they had already left. The dress was placed in a luxury clothing brand store. The staff said that they brought the dress to be inlaid with beads. There was also a note left on the dress. Sister Qingchen, you're getting married. We don't have anything good to give you. When we saw that your dress beads fell, we helped you sew them back. This is a little gift from us. Luo Shui and Rosa. Luo Qingchen frowned. She felt that something was wrong, but she couldn't tell what it was. Ring. In the next second, her phone rang. The caller ID was Li Mo. What's wrong? Shuangxi's gone. Li Mo frowned. Come back quickly. Luo Qingchen took a deep breath and felt inexplicably uneasy. That was their engagement ceremony, and Frost Crane was also there. How could anyone take Shuangxi away under the eyes of so many people? Unless this was a plan that had been carefully planned for a long time. Who was it? Who could it be? Shuanglan or Shuangying, or Li Mo or Bai Shaoqing? For a moment, Luo Qingchen couldn't think of anyone who dared to do such a thing. She took the bag and walked out of the luxury store. She teleported to a corner and returned to the dressing room. At this time, there was no one in the dressing room. They had probably gone to find Shuangxi. Luo Qingchen opened the door from the inside and bumped into Bai Shaoqing. In an instant, her face turned pale and she staggered backward. You? Why are you here? Bai Shaoqing's eyes were filled with disbelief. 3 minutes ago, Luo Shui told her and Shuanglan that Luo Qingchen had already left the store. How could she appear here in such a short time? Looks like you're very surprised. In the next second, Luo Qingchen raised her right hand and pulled her into the dressing room, slamming the door shut. You? What are you trying to do? Bai Shaoqing was clearly nervous, but she forced herself to calm down. At this time, Shuangxi should have been taken away. She couldn't panic. Where's Shuangxi? Her voice was very cold. It was as if she wanted to freeze everything around her. End of chapter. Chapter 36-48. How would I know? Bai Shaoqing's eyes trembled. Why are you asking me about your own fiancé? Without hesitation, Luo Qingchen raised her right hand and choked Bai Shaoqing's neck. I'll give you one more chance. Where's Shuangxi? Cough cough. Luo Qingchen used a lot of force. Bai Shaoqing's face turned red as she choked out, Don't do anything. There's a surveillance camera, sizzle. With a crackling sound, the surveillance camera in the upper right corner of the room was burnt to a crisp. Bai Shaoqing was shocked. She stared at Luo Qingchen with wide eyes. Who are you? I'll give you 3 seconds. Luo Qingchen's clear eyes were now bloodshot. If you don't tell me, I'll make sure the entire Bai family is buried with Shuangxi if she dies. Luo Qingchen's voice was so cold that Bai Shaoqing felt her limbs turn cold. Her feet were slowly leaving the ground. The lack of oxygen made her mind a mess. However, she was unwilling to give up. She finally had a chance to take revenge on Luo Qingchen. How could she let it slip by? It's useless even if you kill me, Bai Shaoqing said with difficulty. It's too late, all right? In the next second, she let go of her right hand and Bai Shaoqing fell to the ground. Luo Qingchen's eyes were filled with murderous intent. Since you want to die so badly, I'll fulfill your wish. With that, she left the dressing room. Just when Bai Shaoqing thought that Luo Qingchen was just scaring her, she heaved a sigh of relief. The ceiling above his head fell with a bang, and the entire makeshift dressing room suddenly collapsed. Beep beep, she received a message from Li Mo. The butler said that Shuangxi's phone signal disappeared at Shihai Forest. The West Sea Forest was not far from here, but because Luo Qingchen had never been there before, she could not teleport. By the time they arrived, half an hour had already passed. The Shuang family members were trying their best to find them. Even Shuangying, who had no intention of attending their engagement party, had come. You really know how to cause trouble. Frost Shadow snorted and said contemptuously, If I find out that this retard is playing hide and seek with us, I will beat him to death. Frost Shadow was very annoyed. He felt that this was a complete waste of his time. However, he was still his younger brother. Although he hated him, he was still a brother on the surface, so he had to come and look for him. On the other hand, Shuanglan seemed to be very anxious. He kept saying that there was a swamp in the east and there was a notice board. Shuangzi probably wouldn't go there, so he suggested that everyone go to the west. But for some reason, Luo Qinchen had a strong premonition, as if Shuangzi was in the east. It turned out that 40 minutes ago, Shuangzi was indeed in the east. In an abandoned hut there were two murderous perverts. Shuanglan had never seen them before. He had found them on a forum. It was said that for so many years, as long as it was someone they wanted to kill, they had never failed. Moreover, they would never be caught by the police. Shuanglan approached the two of them with a tentative attitude and paid the full amount of the commission. The two of them did not disappoint him. They handled the matter very smoothly. 40 minutes ago, Shuangzi was tied to a large table. Two perverted men stood in front of him, holding sharp knives. End of chapter. Chapter 36-49. If you don't want to die a painful death, say something nice to us. Tui. Shuangzi spat on their faces. In your dreams. My wife will definitely come and save me. Humph, save you. The man in black revealed an extremely cold smile and grinned. Do you think we'll give her the time to save you like in the TV series and report to the King of Hell? In the next second, the man used the sharp knife in his hand to cut Shuangzi's neck without hesitation. With a thud, Shuangzi's head fell to the ground. Blood instantly spurted out. The other man was elegantly and carefully cutting off his limbs. Every time he cut off a piece, he would feel a sense of excitement in his heart. What he loved the most was the sound of the blade slashing against the flesh. With every slash, he felt his heart leaping with joy. The man in black threw a suitcase on the ground and looked at him. Don't dawdle. Pack it up and we'll go. Brother, where are we teleporting to this time? I can't wait to receive the next mission. This person is a fool in this life. His fate in the next life should be very good. In order to prevent that old man King of Hell from suspecting us, we have to rest for a while. But, no buts. Do you want to be taken back? Hei Zi and Bai Zi were originally the previous black and white impermanents of the underworld. However, because they neglected their duties, they were imprisoned in the fiery hell. The two were dissatisfied with being treated like this after contributing so much to the underworld for so many years, so they fled. They killed many people over the years, but no one could catch them. After all, the new black and white impermanents were much weaker than them in terms of ability. However, in order to avoid being taken back by the underworld, they would disappear for a long time after completing a mission. Sometimes it would be 1 or 2 years. Sometimes it would be more than 10 years. This time, they wanted to do something big because they sensed that there was a power different from humans in this world. Therefore, they were afraid that they would have to hide for a long time this time. Bai Zi put Shuangzi's flesh piece by piece into the suitcase. He put the head at the top, then wiped the suitcase clean and put it in the forest. After that, the two of them used teleportation to leave this place. Just as they were about to teleport, a system notification suddenly sounded. Host, someone is using a superpower. Who? I don't know. It's in the east. Luo Qinchen ran towards the east without another word. Liemo was a little worried, so he followed after her. About 300 meters deep, Luo Qinchen saw a black suitcase. Seeing Luo Qinchen running over, Shuanglan and the others also followed. The moment he saw the suitcase, Shuanglan's eyes were a little stunned. He felt an inexplicable fear in his heart because he could roughly guess what was inside the suitcase. Those two people were really ruthless. He only wanted them to kill Shuangzi, but why is there a suitcase in the depths of the forest? Shuanglan pretended to be confused as he asked, "It can't be that someone is here to travel, right? If someone is here, you can ask them about Shuangxi's whereabouts." Liemo looked at Luo Qingchen and gently patted her shoulder. "Relax. The police will be here soon, Shuangxi will be fine. This story is about to end. The next story will be about my big brother Juxing. Luli has already thought of what to write. Ha ha ha. End of this chapter. Chapter 3650. Luo Qingchen felt her heart thump, and her eyes inexplicably turned red. "It can't be, it can't be, it can't be, but don't you think it's strange?" Shuangying looked at the suitcase and said, "Why would a suitcase appear in this place? Even if someone forgot to take it, they wouldn't forget to take it in this place." Shuanglan once again showed a puzzled expression, moved her eyes and said, "Then why?" In the next second, Luo Qingchen took a deep breath and lifted her feet to walk towards the suitcase. But the moment she got close to the suitcase, Shuangying stopped her. "Let me do it." Shuangying frowned and said, "I'm a bit suspicious. I'll do it myself." Her voice was very cold, like an ice pool in the dark night, as if her whole body was emitting waves of cold air. At this moment, she felt incomparable fear in her heart, because this kind of fear suddenly appeared. She hadn't felt this kind of fear in a long time. She always thought that she had enough power to protect the people around her, but she found that in front of layers of darkness and fog, even if she raised her vigilance by 100 points, it was useless. The enemy was in the dark, and she was in the light. If she couldn't kill the enemy in an instant, then the enemy would infiltrate around them. Little by little, until a certain moment when she made a mistake, the enemy could take advantage of it. Dee-dong, dee-dong. The sound of the police car slowly came. Luo Qingchen crouched down and felt her hands tremble. She hoped that it wasn't, but this kind of nightmarish premonition flashed through her mind again and again. Until the moment she opened the suitcase, until the moment Shuangxi's head rolled out of the suitcase. A series of screams came from behind her, but she didn't say a word. Tears fell from her eyes drop by drop, and there was a feeling of suffocation in her heart. She couldn't help but hear the words that the arrogant voice once said to her. "Big sister is so beautiful. Big sister is the most beautiful girl I've ever seen. Big sister, let's go to the amusement park, okay? I want to hold little sister wife's hand and go to the amusement park together. It's not easy to have some alone time with little sister wife, don't disturb us. I will keep him safe. I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry." Luo Qingchen could feel her voice trembling. Snow suddenly fell from the sky. In this unsuitable season, the slightly cold snow fell on her palm, emitting a light blue shimmer. At first, Luo Qingchen thought that her eyes were playing tricks on her. After looking at it for a while, she realized that the light blue light was spreading from her palm and finally turned into the word Qing. "Shuangxi, Qingchen." Liemo pulled her into his embrace from behind. Calm down, calm down. Don't look any more." In an instant, she broke free from Liemo's embrace and roared, "Don't touch me!" Qingchen, Luo Qingchen took a deep breath and clenched her right hand. She nodded and looked at the crowd. "The person who killed Shuangxi, whether he's a human or a ghost, I won't let a single one of them go." Whoosh, a gust of wind blew past. Shuanglan's face was filled with panic. In the next second, she felt an incomparable fear in her heart. It was as if Luo Qingchen's extremely cold eyes could see through everything and see into her heart. End of chapter. Chapter 3651. Shuangxi's funeral was held 3 days later. That was the custom here. The body had to be left at home for 3 days for friends and family to take one last look. But because Shuangxi's body was a little scary, Frost Crane just put his body in a box next to the coffin. Inside the coffin, there was a cenotaph. Luo Qingchen squatted next to it, expressionless. Batches of people came to pay their respects. Everyone was crying, as if they were really heartbroken. But were they really heartbroken? Would anyone be heartbroken for someone else's family? Moreover, he was a fool. Luo Qingchen only felt that it was very ironic. But it was at this moment that she remembered many things that had happened in the past. Sometimes, he saved her not because he wanted to trade his life for hers, but because he really had no other choice. Just like here, she wanted to protect him so much, but she still couldn't escape from the villain's scheme. What could she do? What should she do? Why did she have to face such an ending even though she had worked so hard? At 10 o'clock in the evening, whispers of discussion could be heard from Shuanglan's room. Luo Qingchen happened to pass by and heard some of it, but since the door was closed, she could only find a way to eavesdrop from the balcony next door. Other than Shuanglan, there was also Bai Shaoqing. Bai Shaoqing's head was bandaged. He was really lucky. When such a big dressing room fell, he was standing in a blind spot and only suffered minor injuries. Recalling every word Luo Qingchen said to her, she couldn't help but find it funny. Wasn't the other party very powerful? Didn't he almost kill her? And in the end? In the end, she still won. Why wasn't that fool chopped into minced meat? Wouldn't it be more exciting if he was? I say, dear, how pale have you been all day? Bai Shaoqing looked at him with a proud gaze. Now that Shuangzi is dead, you must be the heir of the Shuang family. Shuanglan didn't know why, but he kept thinking about the moment Luo Qingchen turned around and looked at him. It was as if he wanted to see through him. As for Shuangzi's body, although it had been reduced to pieces, for some reason, her tightly shut eyes seemed to be staring at him. Shuanglan's heart was filled with fear, probably because it was her first time killing someone. Oh dear, don't let your imagination run wild. Bai Shaoqing smiled and said, the most important thing you need to do now is to tell Uncle Shuang that Luo Qingchen is an inauspicious person. She is not suitable to join the Shuang clan, only I am suitable. Yes, you are right. Shuanglan shook her head and took a deep breath. Luo Qingchen is indeed not suitable to join the Shuang clan. I will go and talk to father, yes. Bai Shaoqing revealed a proud smile and said, go quickly. Duh. At this moment, the lights in Shuanglan's room went out. Luo Qingchen slowly stood up, ready to send the two of them to their death. The door to the room opened and her father, Frost Crane, walked in. Ah! Bai Shaoqing and Shuanglan cried out at the same time. After all, the two of them had experienced strange things in the past 2 days, and their hearts were still seeping with panic. Why is the light in the room dark? Frost Crane glanced at Shuanglan and said, come with me to the study. Okay. Shuanglan immediately took large strides forward. Bai Shaoqing felt a chill run down his spine and hurriedly followed after her. However, she was rejected by Frost Crane outside the study, and could only go to the hall and wait. End of chapter. Chapter 36:52. Luo Qingchen didn't make a move this time because she felt that Frost Crane's expression wasn't right. Could it be that she had something to do with Shuangzi's death? She climbed over 2 balconies and arrived outside the window of the study. Dad, why are you looking for me? Shuanglan knew that this might be her only chance. She tried to calm herself down and said, Dad, you want to talk to me about the heir, right? Your brother is already. You're still thinking about the heir? Frost Crane slammed the table and said, are you trying to anger me to death so that you can inherit my legacy? In the next second, Shuanglan's expression suddenly changed and she said, No. Dad, you misunderstood me. Bastard. Frost Crane said angrily, the box with your brother's body is missing. Did you take it? Missing? At the same time, Luo Qingchen also felt her heart skip a beat. She couldn't help but feel an inexplicable sense of anticipation. Logically speaking, this world was connected to 1,000 years ago and there was an ability. Shuangzi might, yes. Frost Crane frowned and said, it was Little Ing who found it. Although he usually doesn't treat Little Ci well, when something really happens, he'll be busy. What are you doing? Dad, don't be fooled by Frost Shadow. He's such a smart person. He must be doing it for the heir. Shuanglan instantly panicked and said anxiously, and that Liemo, He seems to be very concerned about Luo Qingchen, but he's secretly getting close to Luo Qingchen. Shut up! The frost crane angrily shouted. Stubborn fool! Let me ask you one thing. Did you take away the box that contained little Ci? Are you not even willing to let your brother rest in peace? Why would I want that thing? Shuanglan froze for a moment. She seemed to feel that she had said something wrong and quickly corrected herself. I mean, it really wasn't me. Humph! Frost Crane snorted. I don't think you have the guts. As for the issue of the successor that you are most concerned about, if Qingchen agrees, I will let you be the successor. Frost Crane clasped his hands behind his back and walked out of the study angrily. He thought that it was impossible for Luo Qingchen to agree with him, so he left these words and left angrily. On the day of Shuangxi's burial, Shuanglan went to find Luo Qingchen. Because they couldn't find the body with the box, they burned it and buried it in a cenotaph. Luo Qingchen wore a black dress and held a black umbrella in her hand. Although she was still a little flustered, she had a more resolute premonition. Just like the day she had a premonition that something would happen to Shuangxi. Now, he had a premonition that she would come back. No matter how long it took, she would wait for him to come back. But some people seemed to be unable to wait. Shuanglan found her in the afternoon after Shuangxi's burial. He was dressed very formally and invited her to a Western restaurant. She didn't even change her clothes. She was still wearing the morning clothes from the morning. Shuanglan looked a little embarrassed. He looked at her and said, Qingchen, sit down. What would you like to drink? Young Master Lan, if you have something to say, just say it. Luo Qingchen narrowed her cold eyes and said, After all, everyone is very busy. Actually, Little C's death, you don't deserve to mention his name. Before Shuanglan could finish, Luo Qingchen interrupted him. Her eyes were cold. Of course, she agreed to meet him for another purpose. Probably because Luo Qingchen's words were too sharp, Shuanglan's face became even uglier. He said angrily, What do you like about him? Is it fun to spend the rest of your life with a fool like you? End of chapter. Chapter 36:53. I feel it's very interesting. Luo Qingchen curled her lips into a smile and said, A good-looking appearance is the same, but an interesting soul can be picked. Not to mention that in my eyes, young Master Lan doesn't even have a good-looking appearance. Ding, affection has increased by 10. Mission completion rate is now 90%. In that instant, Luo Qingchen and Shuanglan's expressions both changed. Of course, the reason for the change was completely different. Shuanglan's face was filled with anger and Luo Qingchen's eyes instantly turned red. Shuangxi. Don't call his name. Shuanglan angrily slapped the table and said, Luo Qingchen, you have to marry me. You don't have a choice, you can only marry me. Shuanglan's voice was like it was isolated and Tower only felt that it was strangely soft. Why didn't he appear when he clearly came back? But how did he come back? Could it be that he also had powers? Countless questions swirled in his mind. Suddenly, he had an answer. Why did this world start 1,000 years ago? Perhaps Shuangxi's identity wasn't normal. Could it be that he was? Luo Qingchen, are you listening to me? Seeing that Luo Qingchen was in a daze and didn't reply, Shuanglan felt even more anxious in her heart. After doing so much, she finally reached this step. She even killed her own little brother just to become the successor of the Shuang family. This final step, there definitely couldn't be anything that could stop her. I heard you, Luo Qingchen said with a cold laugh, but I'm not willing. Don't refuse a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit. Shuanglan said through gritted teeth, I have already given you enough patience and respect, don't force me. What would you do if I forced you? Luo Qingchen touched her ear with her right hand and said, Would you kill me like you killed Shuangxi? The two sides faced off against each other, and the person who always smiled first was defeated. A few seconds later, Shuangxi smiled and said, Qingchen, what nonsense are you talking about? I just like you very much, so I want to marry you. Now that I think about it, if you really don't want to marry me, I can't force you, right? It's just that I've given you so much. Can you let me treat you to a private musical? When? The day after tomorrow. Shuanglan smiled and said, I'll arrange it. Sure. Luo Qingchen agreed without hesitation. Then I'll wait for young Master Lan's arrangement. But only once. I was born as Shuangxi's woman, but I'm also his ghost. I won't marry anyone else in this lifetime. Don't worry, I just want a perfect ending. I won't force you anymore. As soon as she finished speaking, Shuanglan took a sip of coffee. Her deep eyes were suffused with an extremely faint coldness. Perhaps it was because, after killing someone, he would want to use killing to solve any problems in front of him if he encountered any problems in the future. In fact, he was wrong from the beginning. Instead of killing Shuangxi, it was better to kill Luo Qingchen. As long as Luo Qingchen died, Shuangxi couldn't become the heir of the Shuang family. And now, he had already killed one, so he didn't mind killing one more. All right. Luo Qingchen gave a slight nod and also took a sip of the coffee in her hand. She did this for her own selfish reasons. After all, she could see the killing intent in Shuanglan's eyes. If Shuangxi didn't die, if she was in danger, he would definitely appear. She wanted to take a gamble in this world 1,000 years later. Let's end this story tomorrow. Many people asked Luli about the connection between this story 1,000 years ago and 1,000 years later. Actually, the outline of the story was 1,000 years of grudges and a fool's counterattack. But Qingchen was very strong, she could already protect Shuangxi, so there was nothing wrong with Shuangxi being late. As long as the real connection is mentioned at the end, everyone can think of the story 1,000 years later. Anyway, I don't like Bai Shaoqing, I didn't like him 1,000 years ago. There are too many foreshadowing, so I can't solve them one by one. It's fine as long as everyone is happy. Let's wait for Big Brother Jiuxing to appear. This chapter ends. Chapter 3654. By the time Luo Qingchen came out of the coffee house, it was already close to evening. Snow was falling from the sky, indicating that this year's winter had come early. In fact, she herself didn't have much confidence. It's not that Shuanglan wouldn't make a move on her, it's that he would appear. But how will he appear? He was already lying in front of him, dripping with blood. How could he come back? Luo Qingchen didn't know, but she herself was suffering. He didn't love her 100%, how can he abandon her? Io, isn't this Luo Qingchen? Bai Shaoqing called out from behind, his voice full of disdain. You didn't expect this, right? You want me dead, yet I'm still alive. She really didn't expect Bai Yanqing to still be alive. She thought she would die after falling down in the dressing room like that, but the heavens were really good to her and let her escape. So you want to die now? Her tone was very cold, causing a flash of panic to appear in Bai Shaoqing's eyes. But in order not to show it, she put her hands on her hips and snorted at Luo Qingchen. Do you really want to kill someone in public? Do you know why that fool will die? Because your sins are too deep. Pa! It was only at this moment that a crisp sound of a slap rang out. Both Bai Shaoqing and Luo Qingchen froze for a moment. Although they were on the street, there was no one else around except for them. And that slap was so loud that Luo Qingchen could clearly see the right side of Bai Shaoqing's face turning red. Impossible. She was already very sensitive to things like speed. If something suddenly appeared in front of her, she would have been able to detect it. Unless the other party's skills were above hers or stronger than hers. Luo Qingchen, why did you hit me? Bai Shaoqing angrily raised her hand, intending to slap Luo Qingchen back, when another loud slap rang out. Pa! The left side of Bai Shaoqing's face also turned red. This time, Luo Qingchen was sure she was looking at Bai Shaoqing very seriously. After all, she also intended to grab her hand and slap her back. However, she was very sure that no one had appeared. Bai Shaoqing's face seemed to have turned red from the slap for no apparent reason. He could not be seen, but the clear and loud sound could be heard. You actually, coo. Although Luo Qingchen didn't know the reason, seeing Bai Shaoqing's angry appearance, her lips curled into a faint smile as she said, "Whether I hit you or not, you don't know in your heart? Bai Shaoqing, if you don't punish those who have sinned for so many years, the gods will." Luo Qingchen shrugged and said, "I hope you can always be so lucky." As soon as she finished speaking, she turned and walked in another direction. Bai Shaoqing covered his face with both hands and stomped his feet as he roared, "Luo Qingchen, what are you being so arrogant for? It's your fault for liking an idiot. If the idiot dies, you deserve it. At least I haven't experienced the scene of my beloved dying in front of me. You're really—" Bang! Little did she know that before Bai Shaoqing could finish speaking, a blue truck not far away crashed into the guardrail due to the fatigue of the driver, sending her flying. One of her legs was broken, and she was sent flying 10 meters away. Her hands were wide open, and she lay on the concrete floor covered in blood. Her eyeballs were already deformed from the impact, but she still stared at the sky with her eyes wide open. End of chapter. Chapter 36:55. Because she couldn't accept it. She couldn't accept dying like this. She had sacrificed so much, done so much, all for the sake of becoming more respectable and possessing more, but it seemed like it was all too late. Bai Shaoqing watched as the snowflakes drifted down bit by bit. She seemed to know that she was about to die, but her body was still in extreme pain. A man in a shirt seemed to be slowly walking towards her. Only when he got closer did she get a clear look at his face. Handsome, confident, cold, devilish, this face looked very familiar, but those eyes made people feel extremely unfamiliar. The surroundings were pitch black, as though they were in hell. The youth narrowed his eyes as he stood in front of her. "Do you want to go to the 18th level of hell or the 17th? Then let's go to the 18th level." Luo Qingchen didn't walk over to see Bai Shaoqing lying in a pool of blood. After such a violent impact, there was no way she could survive. Moreover, she didn't want her to live in the first place. After returning home, Liemo looked for her for a cup of coffee. He didn't seem to be in a good mood. When he looked at her, his eyes flickered. "Qingchen, have we met a long time ago?" Luo Qingchen didn't know why Liemo would suddenly ask such a question. Instead, her lips curled into a cold smile. "Do you still like Bai Shaoqing here?" "Here. Bai Shaoqing is dead." Luo Qingchen raised her eyebrows slightly. "If you go to the hospital now, you should still be able to see her one last time." Liemo froze for a moment. He wanted to say something, but Luo Qingchen had already stood up and left. After calling her name, he said, "I've been having a dream recently, a very strange dream. In the dream, I felt like I was in ancient times, and in the dream, you were always by my side." "Then you must have dreamt of Bai Shaoqing." Luo Qingchen chuckled. "In the dream, you probably liked Bai Shaoqing a lot." She didn't say anything else. Instead, she took a light step and left the garden. Liemo stood in place for a long time before softly muttering in a self-deprecating manner, "In my dreams. I also liked you." After Bai Shaoqing's death, the police had come to her house to look for her. They wanted to ask her about what had happened. After all, the spot where Bai Shaoqing had been standing was a blind spot of the camera. They also asked her why she hadn't called for an ambulance immediately. "I had already left at that time. The surveillance cameras should have captured it." "That's right." The policeman bowed and said, "It's mainly because the Bai family wanted to ask Miss Luo. Why didn't they call the police and call the ambulance immediately?" "Why?" Luo Qingchen coldly snorted, "What do you think?" The policeman was speechless. The Luo family was not easy to deal with. Although he was a police officer, he still had to pay attention to his word. "Because..." Luo Qingchen's lips curled into a faint smile, "I want her to die. You can pass on my words to the Bai family as they are." Luo Qingchen chuckled, "I don't mind." The next morning, Luo Qingchen received a call from Yang Yaji. Luo Shui and Luo Sha had gone hiking with a few good friends yesterday. They didn't expect to meet with an accident and both of them fell off a cliff. Originally, they weren't dead, but because they didn't leave a good impression on their friends, no one went to look for them. The doctor said that the two of them spent the 3 hours after falling off the cliff in agony. One of them had a sharp object piercing her lung, while the other had a broken bone. In short, they died in agony. End of chapter. Chapter 36-56. By the time the police found them, they had already been dead for 7 or 8 hours. Qichin, I'm actually calling to ask. Yang Yaji sounded very nervous on the other end of the phone. She had witnessed firsthand how terrifying Luo Qingchen was. Talking to her was like talking to the Grim Reaper. It wasn't me. Luo Qingchen interrupted Yang Yaji without hesitation. There's always an excuse for a heavenly disaster, but there's no escape for a self-inflicted disaster. Whether Luo Shui and Luo Sha's deaths were accidental or man-made, the result was obvious. If she guessed correctly, Shuangxi's death had something to do with the two of them. She had taken away her gown that day, which was enough to prove that they were also involved in the plan to kill Shuangxi. Qingchen. Actually, I don't mean anything by asking this question, it's just that. I've said it before. As long as you don't provoke me, I don't care if you're a good person or a bad person, Luo Qingchen said coldly. I also don't care if you're doing good or bad things. As soon as her voice fell, Luo Qingchen hung up without any hesitation. Yang Yaji let out a long sigh of relief. Sitting beside her, Li Kaiwei asked anxiously, Did she suspect us? We really didn't do anything. Following the deaths of Bai Shaoqing, Luo Shui, and Luo Sha, Li Kaiwei suddenly panicked. After all, although they didn't do anything to Shuangxi, they knew very well who did it. It was just that they decided to stop while carrying out the plan. I don't know if she suspects you, but I should be safe now. Yang Yaji took a deep breath. I told you before not to provoke her. She's a devil, okay? That's right. So many people have already died. I wonder who'll be the next to die? Li Tsaiwei's entire body trembled. I'll have Li Mo bring me out of the country to lie low for a while. I don't know who will be the next, but from her tone, this matter isn't over yet. Of course, this matter wasn't over yet. Shuanglan booked the entire hall for Yaluo Da's musical. When Luo Qingchen arrived, it was exactly 7:30 in the evening. There was only Shuanglan in the entire musical theater hall. He seemed to be wearing a vampire costume with an English round hat. He lit a cigarette and took a puff. When he saw Luo Qingchen walk in, the corner of his mouth outlined a wicked smile. Qingchen, you're finally here. He took out a rose with his left hand and looked at her. I've been waiting for you for a long time. Luo Qingchen's cold eyes narrowed. She didn't take the roses, but looked at him with a sneer and said, You killed Shuangxi, right? I already know. At this moment, the roses in Shuanglan's hand seemed particularly awkward. He took a deep puff of the cigarette, threw it to the ground and stomped on it. Qingchen, what are you talking about? How could I kill my brother? He's my brother. You asked me out today to kill me, right? Luo Qingchen narrowed her eyes. Of course, that's under the premise that I'm not willing to marry you. Shuanglan's expression changed. It was as if he was a completely different person from his previous elegant appearance. For a long time, the air was silent. After an unknown amount of time, Shuanglan coldly said, So, are you willing to marry me? He. Luo Qingchen gave 2 cold laughs. You look like this. Why should I marry you? Do you think you're even a tenth as good-looking as Shuangxi? End of chapter. Chapter 36-57. After that, Shuanglan's face turned red as he angrily roared, Then he is a fool. What qualification does a fool have to be the successor? Why does he have a wife? I'm young and promising, so what if I'm not as good-looking as him? He is still a fool in the end. But I prefer this fool. Luo Qingchen slightly narrowed her eyes and said, I will always prefer him. After a while, there was a cold laugh that filled the air. He. Shuanglan took out a revolver with a silencer from his pocket and pointed it at her head as he said, "Then you can go to hell with him." Ha ha. Luo Qingchen suddenly gave two laughs, but there wasn't a trace of nervousness in her eyes. "What are you laughing at?" Shuanglan was stunned. He didn't understand what Luo Qingchen's bright smile meant. "I'm happy." Luo Qingchen put her hands in her pocket and closed her eyes as she said, "I really want to go to hell with him." These were the words she had muttered in her heart every time he abandoned her for thousands of years. But today she actually said it out loud. Shuanglan's face became more and more ugly. He had come prepared today and the car was already waiting outside. If she died, she would be sent up the mountain and her body would be taken care of. After doing this kind of thing once, he wouldn't panic the second time. "All right." Shuanglan loaded the gun and looked at her as he said, "Then you can go to hell." Peng. The moment the bullet came out of the muzzle, Luo Qingchen didn't open her eyes. She was waiting for an expectation, waiting for a miracle, waiting for a chance to save herself. Ding, affection has increased by 10. Mission completion rate is now 100%. In an instant, a black figure appeared in front of her. She saw him wave his left hand and the bullet disappeared. In the next second, she suddenly opened her eyes. Her clear eyes instantly turned red. "Who are you?" Shuanglan's face instantly turned pale when she saw the bullet she shot out disappear just like that. However, the young man didn't listen to her at all. Instead, he gently raised his right hand and tucked the stray hair in front of her forehead behind her ear. "Taking risks like this isn't cute." His voice was very low, as if he had finally woken up after a long night. Luo Qingchen bit her lower lip and took a deep breath. "Because I knew that if you were still alive, you would definitely come. What if I die?" His cold and gentle voice slowly drifted into her ears. She lowered her eyes and chuckled. "I've already said it. Going to hell with you is a very happy thing for me. I won't let you accompany me to hell." The youth's eyebrows twitched slightly. "Because I can't bear to." "You? Are you done talking?" Shuanglan shook the gun and said, You. Who are you? Also, Luo Qingchen, didn't you just say you loved my little brother the most? Now you're talking to a strange man, you really are shameless." Little did he know that before he could say a word, he felt as if his neck was being strangled by something. But when his hands touched his neck, there was nothing at all. Only the invisible thing strangling his neck became tighter and tighter, making it hard for him to breathe. After that, the black-clothed youth slowly turned around to look at him and said, "Let me introduce myself again, I am Shuangzi. Don't update after midnight, straight to the end." End of this chapter. Chapter 3658. What? Shuanglan staggered back and directly fell to the ground. "You? Aren't you already?" "Impossible. How is this possible? Why is it impossible?" Shuangzi held her hand with his right hand. That handsome and cold face flashed with a touch of killing intent, looked at Shuanglan and said, "Don't you know? Some people are born injured, their wounds can heal, and I happen to be this kind of person." "Impossible," Shuanglan desperately shook her head and said, "I am a person who believes in science and—" "You are obviously a fool." "Shuanglan, do you really think so?" Shuangzi's mouth outlined a very cold smile and said, "Maybe I just want to use another way to get close to the person I love." The moment his voice fell, he could feel the hand in his palm tremble a bit. He didn't say anything, and held it even tighter. He really used a rotten and affectionate reason to tell all of this, but she didn't know why when he said this sentence. It made her eyes redden. "No," Shuanglan roared. "You have been a fool since childhood. You have been a fool all your life. You will always be a fool." Shuanglan began to speak incoherently. His trembling hands picked up the pistol in his hand, closed his eyes and madly shot. While shooting, he didn't forget to roar, "Go to hell! All of you go to hell!" Shio! The next second, Shuangzi gently waved his right hand, and all the bullets disappeared in the air in an instant. A few seconds later, Shuanglan desperately gasped for breath, and slowly opened her eyes. Shuangzi was still standing in front of her, protecting Luo Qingchen behind him. His deep eyes flashed with a fine cold light. "Ah!" Shuanglan screamed as if she was about to break down. Her voice trembled as she roared, "Who are you? Who are you?" "Me?" Shuangzi's voice was very lazy, but with a chill that made people's hair stand on end. "An immortal god." His voice fell, only to see his right hand slightly raised. With a touch of light blue light, Shuanglan was instantly bound by an invisible blue light, and a burning fire began to appear around him. "What are you doing?" Shuanglan took a deep breath and said, Little Ci, I am your brother, don't mess around. I still love you in my heart." "So loving your brother, you want to let him be cut into pieces?" Shuangzi sneered and said, "Or do you want to die that way more?" "No. No." Shuanglan desperately shook her head. Don't. Give me a chance. Hearing Shuangzi's a cold smile, holding Qingchen's hand, Luo Qingchen's hand slowly turned. The moment they walked out of the concert hall, there was a bang sound behind them. Before Shuanglan was blown to pieces, Shuangzi's low and cold voice echoed throughout the concert hall. That was the answer he gave him. "If you didn't want to kill her, perhaps I would have let you go. Unfortunately, that's someone I can't bear to see even a little bit of hurt." Half an hour later, Speed Hotel. Luo Qingchen sat on the sofa in the hotel, her heart inexplicably beating fast. Shuangzi indeed couldn't go home now, but certainly couldn't walk around on the streets. What if she ran into paparazzi? Luo Qingchen wanted to find a way to tell Shuangying first, but she didn't expect Shuangzi to leave first. "I think it's better to stay in the hotel first, and let second brother come after we settle down." Okay, but in her heart she couldn't help but think, what does settling down mean? Chapter 36:59. The hotel room was filled with the faint fragrance of shower gel. In fact, she hadn't completely adapted to this Shuangzi. She always felt that he was Shuangzi, but it also didn't seem like he was. That pair of deep ink-like eyes seemed to be able to see through everything. Luo Qingchen gently shook her head and coughed twice. "I'm going to buy something to eat." "What do you want to eat?" Gotcha! In the next second, the bathroom door was opened. The air was instantly surrounded by the fragrance of shower gel. Shuangzi slightly narrowed his eyes and said, "Is anything okay?" His voice was gentle with a touch of playfulness, and the ambiguous atmosphere was instantly filled. "Of course not." Luo Qingchen gently bit her lips and said, "You'll eat whatever I buy." As soon as her voice fell, she was about to walk to the door. Little did she know, his right hand suddenly grabbed her wrist and pulled her to his side. "Qingchen, I'm not hungry at all." "You, don't go yet." Shuangzi pulled back his arms and hugged her tightly. "I missed you very much." Luo Qingchen was slightly stunned, and suddenly inexplicably wanted to cry. Sometimes parting was terrible, but reuniting after parting was equally frightening. "It's good that you're back." Luo Qingchen gently bit her lips and said, "I knew you would definitely come back." "I shouldn't have come back at this time." Shuangzi's eyebrows moved slightly. "I still need to spend a little more time." "Ah, so." Luo Qingchen was stunned for a moment, and wanted to break free from his embrace, but the result was that she was hugged even tighter. "Probably to work for the King of Hell for a few more years." Shuangzi chuckled. "We've met before, in the underworld." Luo Qingchen was stunned for a moment, and suddenly the fragmented pieces in her mind were connected together. "You are." Luo Qingchen slowly raised her eyes and said, "I actually just thought of it, and…" Shuangzi nodded lightly. She pressed her right hand against the wall behind her and said, "So sister should be punished." "Sister?" Luo Qingchen felt her whole body tremble. It was obviously the same face, but why did it feel like there was such a big difference? What's wrong? Shuangzi smiled and said, When I called you sister before, weren't you very happy? The past is the past, and the present is the present. Luo Qingchen's eyebrows trembled as she said, This can't be considered the same. I think it's fine. I don't think so. In the next second she heard a cabotin sound. Her hands were tied up by Shuangzi, and a hint of evil flashed across her originally clean eyes. You? Calm down. If big sister. Ugh, little did she know that before Luo Qingchen could finish, Shuangzi had already covered her mouth. He sucked on her, tossing and turning. Sister, in fact, I still have a secret that I haven't told you. Luo Qingchen almost struggled to find the time to use it deliberately. She questioned him, What do you mean? In fact, as a fool, I shouldn't die so quickly. Shuangzi kissed her and said, But I can't wait any more, Shuangzi. In fact, there are risks. Shuangzi gently kissed her lips again. He hugged her waist and said, But I'm willing to take all the risks. I just want to return to you as soon as possible. Wait. Luo Qingchen was carried from the corner in front of the bathroom to the bedroom by Shuangzi. Her brain hadn't been completely brainwashed by him yet. She gently blinked, looked at him and said, So, what do you want to do? Shuangzi's eyes flashed a very faint light. Do what every man wants to do.